Okay, real talk. Have you ever thought to yourself, how in the world did a chubby Italian guy become like the main character of a Japanese company? It's weird. It is absolutely weird. I am here to agree with you that it is weird. But the story behind the creation of Mario is fascinating. We want to talk about that right here. This is Make It Exist. In the past, we've created a lot of drawings and we'll probably do more of those. But I also want to include in this YouTube channel case studies of people who were insanely creative in the past and try to learn from what they did. How do you go about creating Mario? If we wanted to create something like that today, what did they do then? We want to learn from that. Also, I promise to you, I don't only have black shirts with hashtag a word on it. I realize that now multiple of my videos that I'm on screen have that, but that's not always the case, I promise. Let's begin with a little bit of trivia. In what year was Nintendo founded? Is it A, 1978, B, 1957, C, 1889, or D, 1989? Turns out the answer is C. Nintendo was actually created in 1889. That means it was created 130 years ago this year. Kind of crazy. And the guy that created Nintendo was a guy named Fusahiro Yamauchi. And as you can see, I am completely fluent in Japanese. I'm really trying here. In the beginning, Nintendo was actually called Nintendo Kopai, and they created handmade playing cards. It was a really high quality product that lots of people loved, and people started buying them like crazy. And so the company grew and grew and grew. And over time, this became the largest playing card company in Japan. It was called Nintendo Kopai at the time, and Kopai means playing cards. And Nintendo is not a real Japanese word, but a lot of people believe it means to leave one's luck to heaven. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. In 1956, the CEO of Nintendo was a man named Hiroshi Yamauchi. He was now a big dog. This is a big company. This is a big deal. So he decides to fly to the United States to go to the United States Playing Card Company, where there is the largest playing card company in the world, in the whole world. And he gets there, he pulls up to the location and he looks at their office and he's like, wow, that office is not very big. Clearly, there's not enough money in playing cards if this is the biggest company in the world that does this and they're this small. So he decided right then and there, this was a turning point for him. Nintendo's got to do more than just playing cards. There's not enough money here. I want to make this thing big, right? So he goes back to Japan and he decides he's going to change everything. In 1961, he decides that he's going to officially change the name of the company from the Nintendo Playing Card Company to just the Nintendo Company, which will allow them to do a whole lot more than just playing cards. So they start then trying to get real creative, trying to figure out what in the world they're going to do. So they come up with instant rice. It's kind of like a top ramen sort of thing, but for rice. They created love hotels where you could rent a room by the hour. This is actually real. Weird, but real. They also created a taxi service, right? So they literally have no idea what they're doing right now. They're just throwing crap up against the wall and seeing what sticks. And they want to find out how they can go beyond just playing cards. And as you might imagine, they realized that none of that stuff actually made them that much money. And so they started to go back to what they're good at, and that was entertainment and toys and cards. So Nintendo realized that toys and entertainment was a really great niche for them because it was a lot bigger than just playing cards, but it also was something that they were really good at. And so they started creating these toys. They started realizing we can add electronics into these toys and make them really interesting, something that you could never do before. And these electronic toys began to evolve and evolve into a video game, what a video game is today. So Nintendo starts expanding, and they expand out to North America, the United States. Nintendo in North America had a very small team. They were based out of Seattle. There was like 10 or 15 of them, very small group. And their job was to start spreading the Nintendo love into North America. So what Nintendo did early on was they sent to over 1,000 units of a game called the Radar Scope. Anyways, it takes a long time for 1,000 really big arcade units to travel halfway across the world to get to North America. It takes months and months. And by the time, and once it arrives in North America, apparently it was totally outdated. People were like, that's not even cool anymore, right? Like that was cool 4 months ago, but it's not cool anymore, And so no one was playing the games. They weren't making it, no one was putting their quarters into that arcade game. And so they didn't know what to do. The president of North America, Nintendo, was like, we had a problem. You need to help us out. Can you please send us something, another game that can replace this Radar Scope, fix this Radar Scope debacle. The CEO at this time is Hiroshi Yamauchi. He had no idea what to do. He's like, all of my guys are really busy, and I need to somehow come up with something that will help these guys in North America feel better about themselves, but I got no one. So who do they decide to turn to? None other than Shigeru Miyamoto was the guy they decided to bring in. Yamauchi has this big issue. North America needs a game that'll work. He decides, I guess we'll pull in Shigeru Miyamoto. I guess he's going to be our guy. He's never made a game before, but, I guess let's try it out. He also decided that he wanted to pair him up with a guy named Gunpei Yokai. Let me know in the comments how you're actually supposed to pronounce these things. He was a veteran in the world of gaming, and his job was to be the guru for Miyamoto, to tell him how you should go about doing this thing. And Gunpei told him, or Yokai told him that, let's just play it safe here. Let's just make a newer version of Radar Scope. Let's send it over. That'll be great, right? But Miyamoto had different plans, right? He's like, it's not fun though, right? Miyamoto never was about a first-person shooter kind of thing. He enjoyed more of the imaginative stuff. So he said, you know what? I want to create a game with a story. That's never been done before. No one at that point had ever made a video game with a story. They never thought that a video game could actually be a really good vehicle to tell a narrative. He decided that in his game, he wanted to feature Popeye. Popeye the Sailor Man. Yes, that one. The spinach-loving, big-armed Popeye. That was his idea, and he was super excited about it, and it was going to have a story and all these things. Anyways, Nintendo tried to get the rights for Popeye. You know what happened? Boom. Big thumbs down. They couldn't get the rights to Popeye. Imagine for a second what would have happened had, I believe, Paramount Pictures owned Popeye at the time. Imagine if they had said yes to this. Mario would never have been created. It's kind of mind-boggling. If we look at how much money the Mario franchise has made to date, it's about $27 billion as of the end of 2018. That is incredible, right? He has single-handedly, through the creation of this character and that whole franchise, employed an entire company full of people and paid for all their families and has created something that has inspired millions of people around the globe. Mario is like the Mickey Mouse of video games. It is a really big deal. I am so glad that Paramount said no to Popeye. I'm sure it probably broke Miyamoto's heart at that time, but it allowed him to create something that changed the world. And so what did he do next? He realized that at the time, comic book heroes were really big. Everyone loved comic book heroes. They were fun to read about and see, and everyone was like, that's so cool. But he realized, or he really wanted to create anyways, a character that was more relatable. He didn't want him to be strapling and huge and everything. He wanted a person that was just very normal. Right? Popeye was a sailor man. He was really strong and everything like that, but he's just that's a normal profession, right? He's not like a superhero that flies around town. He's a sailor and eats vegetables, right? So he decided he was going to follow a similar vein, and he was going to create a guy that was just very normal. So he decides to create a character that has a girlfriend that's kidnapped by a gorilla. Pretty relatable, right? Right? Not really, right? Turns out that the character, which Miyamoto called originally Mr. Video, was inspired by Popeye. Popeye had a girlfriend, and he had a villain, and it was all very akin to those same characters. So they are very much inspired by the Popeye characters. And Miyamoto thought it would be really cool to have this story where you've got this very normal guy that needs to heroically save his girlfriend from his pet gorilla who kidnapped her. And this, throughout this, the gorilla would throw things. There'd be barrels that would come down. And, he had to traverse these obstacles to get to his girlfriend, right? And there you have the very first story in a video game ever. Pretty dang cool when you think about it. It's very simple, but it was cool. It was new. It was innovative. It was different. So how do you get past these obstacles? Well, there's kind of two options. One is you go around them, you jump over them, you go under them, or you break them. And turns out this game's got both, right? You jump over the barrels, or you can get hammers and you can, smash the barrels. And the iconic jumping over the barrel was born. It was actually something that people noticed so much, that you jump so much in this game, that even though Miyamoto called this character Mr. Video, everyone started calling him Jumpman because he jumps. That was his way to save his girl from the gorilla. Was jumping over barrels, jumping from one girder to another one, all the way up to the very top where he could save the day. So we know he jumps, but how did he get the way that he looks? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. And this is actually what inspired this entire video. Imagine for a second a person jumping over things to eventually get to a destination at the top. Okay? As they jump over things, their hair is probably going to be whooshing, and the character is probably going to be happy because I'm getting so close to my girlfriend, and I'm frustrated because, oh my gosh, there's all these obstacles in my way. Stupid gorilla, you're driving me crazy. There are all of these things that would be really hard to animate. And so in interviews, Miyamoto has admitted and mentioned the reason Mario has a hat is because he didn't want to animate the hair. And the reason that Mario has a mustache is because he didn't want to make facial expressions. How awesome is that, right? Let me say that one more time. The reason that Mario has a hat and a mustache, the things that make him so iconic, is because they were cutting corners. It was a shortcut. It was easier. It was easier to do that than try to figure out how to animate hair in 8 bits. That is so cool to me. Because what that tells me, and I hope it tells you, is that it doesn't matter if you create perfection. It wasn't that first game that made Mario into the thing he is today. It was a small fire. It was interesting enough. And people started liking it, and so they did more of it. It actually turns out, after Donkey Kong, this was 1981, was so successful. In 1982, they made a second arcade game called Donkey Kong Jr. And in this game, you play, instead of playing as Jumpman, what he now became known as, you play as Donkey Kong Jr. You are the gorilla's son that is trying to rescue your dad from the evil Mario, which is crazy. This is the only game Mario is the villain. It's the only one. And they realized in this game that that's probably not a good idea. Let's not make Mario the villain. He's a good guy. Let's use him as a good guy. Also, in this game, Donkey Kong Jr., this is the first time that Mario gets his name. So we know that he has the iconic jump from Donkey Kong. He had the hair or the hat and the mustache because it was easier. But the name actually came from a landlord in Seattle who apparently wore hats and had a mustache, and everyone thought, hey, that looks kind of like Jumpman. His name's Mario. And so everyone in the North America office started calling this guy Mario. And Miyamoto heard about it and was like, I kind of like that name. Let's go with Mario. And that's it. That's the story. There's no aha moment. There wasn't a light coming from the heavens. It was, that sounds like a cool name. And so they put it on there and it stuck. So what do we learn? How do you be more creative from this? In the comments below, let me know what you pull out of this, right? A lot of these are case studies, and so you can pull out all sorts of stuff, and you may glean something different than what I'm gleaning. But here is what I learned from this, is that in order to create something of value, just create it. Don't worry about perfection. Just make something, anything, put it out there. And once it's out there, people will tell you if they love it or if it's awful. And if people like parts of it, or if you really love parts of it, just keep taking it and see how far you can make it go. I bet Miyamoto back in 1981, when he was creating this arcade game to replace the radar scope, I am sure he didn't realize that he was creating something that would one day be worth $27 billion. And he would become the Walt Disney of video games. I am sure he didn't think about that. If he had, he would have been so overwhelmed. I'm sure he would have never created anything at all. But instead, he just made something. Let's go make stuff. That's the secret. That's what I learned from creating Mario. Let me know down in the comments if there are other things that you learned that we can talk about together. Anyways, if you liked this video, consider giving it a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Also, just throwing it out there, you should subscribe. I think subscribing would be cool. You stuck around to the end of the video, so that was good. Now I think it's probably time for you to go home now. It's video's over. You can click off. We're not really doing anything here anymore. We're just chilling. Just chilling. There's not a whole lot left to see. There's actually nothing left to see. We're just sitting here. Yeah.